In 1974, Ned Tibbits, at 17 years old, thru-hiked the trail.
I'm Ned Tibbits. I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 1974. I was 17 and graduated early from high school. And at that time, there really wasn't a whole lot of information on what the Pacific Crest Trail was. I've been associated with the Pacific Crest Trail Association since '72, when we called it the Pacific Crest Trail Club. Warren Rogers was the head of it, and he supplied me with lots of information on the trail, and as best as he could. He was all over the state promoting this new idea of the Pacific Crest Trail. He also was very valuable to me, especially after I met him at a Forest Service meeting, in providing more hands-on information and equipment for my departure. Armed with a stack of topos, a whole nother stack of Forest Service maps, I departed March 14th from Campo and arrived in Canada September 2nd, right before the first snowstorms. This is off of Forester Pass, and what my plan is that when I was going to hike the Crest Trail after I graduated from high school early, I would take my rectangular plastic canteen and drill a 3/4 inch diameter hole in the lid and put one of those black rubber stoppers that you've got in Chem Lab that have the two holes. Put a couple little glass ferrules in there, one for venting and one for attaching a automotive gas line or whatever that tubing is. And I could stick the canteen in the upper side pocket, and as you see, I'm sucking some orange stuff. I love Tang, so that's what I was drinking. But it was just a way that I could drink and stay hydrated while I was hiking, and that wasn't possible in those days, and just something I came up with. You can see how ripped up my side pocket is here. This pocket and the one in the back center, right down here, as well as the other upper side pocket on the other side, were both ripped into and ripped off multiple times, most notably down in Cedar Grove, Kings Canyon National Park, where a bear got into my pack in the middle of the night right after I had been resupplied, and I had like 30 treasured candy bars in that side pocket, and I was a happy camper. And that bear that came through the campground that night, there wasn't anybody else there. It was really early season. It must have been March, middle, April. I think it was about April 20th. I had just come over Forester. This is the summer picture, but come over Forester. We snowshoed down into Cedar Grove. We got resupplied. My mom had taken off. It was that night. Bear came through, shredded my pack. The bear story there is I tried to threaten it with my ice axe and my little flashlight. You know, it was a little Mallory flashlight from the 70s. It took a couple steps toward me because he didn't want me to take his conquest, and I just had to listen to the bear ripping the nylon, and it was my house. It's like as if you were watching your house burn down and you could do nothing, and that agonizing sound of the nylon ripping and whatnot. So I spent the next few days sewing my home back together again in the campground, and then I think it was about a month later, mice got into it and chewed another hole through the same poor flag pocket. But anyway, I have other bear stories I could tell you where I literally hit one in the dark and couldn't see it. And it wasn't until my hand went through about 5 inches of fur that I realized what I was doing, because he had just woken me up and he was this far from me, but I could sense him in the dark. There's another Tuolumne Meadows type story. That's another one. This guy reflects a 17-year-old who had gained perhaps 20 extra pounds over the course of his Mexico to Canada trip. This is Glacier Peak in the background, so I'm up in north central Washington. And I was doing what most hikers do. You know, your socks get wet during the day, so you change socks and you hang them out up there, and you can see my old Nikon F2 case sitting up on top, and part of the routine of the day was just hang out and enjoy the meadows. I only did 17 miles a day, so I took a lot of breaks and enjoyed the countryside I was going through. These are my old, the boots I'm wearing are old Vask Whitneys that weighed almost 5 pounds as a pair, and I still prefer them. I had them resold when I crossed the Columbia River. There's another story there, because we had to go from Cascade Locks to where the boot guy was. The most direct route was across the dam on Bonneville. I think it's Bonneville Dam. And although we were 17, we didn't always pay attention to the signs, like don't go here and warning and all that. We walked right across the top of the dam to get to the boot guy on the other side. But in 74 on the Canadian border, all you had was Monument 78. You didn't have anything else. And when we got there, it was, as most thru-hikers have expressed, it's almost a letdown. You've been working for months to get to Canada. That's your goal. But once you're there, and even as you approach that last week, at least it was for us, you knew that your lifestyle, which had been created over all these months, and natural rhythms of getting up with the sun, going to bed with the sun, good exercise, basic foods, that kind of thing, you knew it was going to come to an end. It was a bittersweet experience, because it's the end of a lifestyle and lifetime, because your whole lifestyle changes, your whole way of living changes on a long trip like this. To get to here, you've accomplished this is fantastic, and you can look back and say, I did it and all that. But it was an end of, it was almost like, the summer of 42, or some monumental time in your life where everything was grand and great, but it comes to an end. And so the last few days coming up to this point, you're reflecting on the things that you've done, the things you've seen, how great it'll be to have a hamburger, but yet this is all going to change. Such that even when we got to civilization, so to speak, I couldn't sleep on a bed because it was too soft. A chair. I mean, the way Rob Franz here is leaning up against Monument 78, that's the ultimate in comfortable style in the backcountry, to have a back support while you're sitting at a tree or a rock or whatever. I mean, you look for those things when you're on the trail. Yet a chair, you could put the chair anywhere and have a back support. So it was some of the things, and the noise in society. The noise was just a cacophony of things, and it was almost overwhelming at first. But this was a moment that shows three guys who were reflecting on a change in the PCT experience, really. The PCT experience is far more than walking on a trail and living that lifestyle. It's what happens to you along the way. It's the journey and not the goal that changes people's lives. And if there's one thing that was more important than having accomplished it, was having received the changes and become a new man, so to speak.